Welcome to another episode of the Live Happy, Healthy, and Inspired podcast. The podcast all about learning how to live a happy, healthy, and inspired life. I'm your host, Brad, a once upon a time overweight, lethargic, low self-esteem couch potato that turned it all around. My mission now is to empower you, the listener, with the strategies, tips, and advice for what it takes so that you too can live happy, healthy, and inspired. Feeling stuck in life? When that happens, what do you do? In this episode, I break down 5 key things you need to know to get unstuck and become your happiest, healthiest, most inspired self. Key takeaways from today's episode include 3 questions you must ask yourself to live a more purposeful life, 2 techniques I personally use to break the yo yo weight cycle once and for all, and how letting go and non attachment are the true secrets to lasting inner peace. Tune in and learn what you can do to become the happiest, healthiest, most inspired you. Well, welcome everybody to another episode of the Live Happy, Healthy, and Inspired podcast. I'm your host, Brad, and it's just going to be me today, just coming at you with a solo episode today. And I wanted to start off today with a little bit of a metaphor. I'm going to bring a plant over here. So for those of you that are watching on video, you'll be able to see this, and I know it's just sort of a plastic plant. For those listening via audio only, just imagine I'm holding an orchid right now, a pink orchid. And you might remember the movie Forrest Gump. I love this movie. His mom says, life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. And I kind of want to expand on that philosophy today and just say that life is like a flower. Now, what happens to a flower when you nurture it, or I should say you nourish it? You give it plenty of sunshine, plenty of water, plenty of nutrients, plant food, things like that. And you give it a little bit of good, healthy energy vibration, the way that you talk to the plant. Well, eventually that plant grows up into what you see here, if you're watching on video, into what you see in front of me, a healthy, thriving, flourishing orchid type plant. Now, your life is the same. If you take the time to nourish your life, to feed your life with a lot of healthy sunshine, a lot of water, so to speak, and a lot of healthy nutrients, and you throw at yourself some good, positive, healthy, happy, the way you talk to your plant, the way you talk to yourself, eventually you're going to blossom and you're going to thrive and you're going to become this beautiful, like the orchid, you're going to become this beautiful flower that you are, in this case, beautiful person that you are. And that's what I want to focus on today is, well, how do we nourish ourselves? How do we give ourselves water? What does that look like for us as a person? I'm not talking about, the actual physical water. Of course, we need to drink water. And how do we give ourselves nutrients? Again, what does that look like? And again, for a plant, of course, plant food. And yes, the foods we eat is part of that, and I'll talk about that. But what does giving ourselves nourishment look like in the real world? What is giving ourselves water? What is giving ourselves nutrients? And of course, what does, feeding ourselves as happy, healthy thoughts or psychology, what does all of that look like? And how do we use all of that to what I call become your happiest, healthiest, most inspired version of yourself? And that's what I wanted to focus on today. And the reason I wanted to focus on that specifically is because I know life can be challenging, life can be tough, life can be crazy, life can be hard. And we all get stuck in a rut at some point. We all get down, depressed, demotivated. Even me, the guy who's supposed to be the health coach, the wellness coach, I certainly do not have all of this figured out. And I'm just like you. I wake up every morning, I put, one shoe on at a time, so to speak. And there are days that are certainly better than others. And over the years, I've kind of learned a couple of things to help get me unstuck when I become stuck, but also to keep me from getting stuck less and less and less as the years go by, as time goes by. And I don't know about you, but yeah, I'm definitely Biologically not getting any younger, but a lot of times psychologically, I do feel like I'm getting younger. So I wanted to kind of share with you today some of the things that I've learned about, how do we keep from getting stuck? How do we get unstuck? And how do we prolong, the time between when we get stuck? And I should point out also that getting stuck in life, getting demotivated, falling off the horse, whatever, that's not a bad thing. That's perfectly okay because it gives us a chance to rest, to recover. My background light just went off there. I had the light on, it just went off. We're going to keep going here. Again, for those that are listening on the audio only, this won't affect you. For those watching on video, we just go with the flow. The light went out. I'm going to see if I can't get it to come back on here. All right, we will try to get it to come back on here in a second, but we just adjust and we adapt and we keep going. But anyway, yeah, and so I wanted to share with you today some of the things I've learned over the course of my journey about, getting unstuck and keeping ourselves from getting stuck, and how we give ourselves nutrients, how we give ourselves water, how we give ourselves sunshine, how we give ourselves all of this, shouldn't, a lot of people don't like that word positive, but happy, healthy type of thoughts and things like that, so that we too can blossom. Again, if you're on video, like this orchid. That's what we want to do. That's what life's all about, is blossoming and becoming the most beautiful, well-nourished version of ourselves. Now, with the flower, of course, it's easy to do. I know what it's like to struggle with weight loss, lack motivation, and feel lost with no purpose. I've been there. This was me, overweight, unmotivated, and battling low self-esteem. But I took back my life, and now I'm here to help you do the same. My book, Take Back Your Life, is your guide to breaking through these challenges. It's time to reclaim your health, motivation, and self-worth. Readers are saying, a life-changing guide helped me find my purpose and the boost I needed to transform. Start your journey today. Let's take back your life together. Just give it a lot of TLC. But have you ever stopped for a moment to think about giving yourself some of that same TLC, some of that tender, loving care? Well, one of the ways that I've learned in my life to do this, and that you can do in your life to learn to give yourself some of that same TLC, the first one is, it seems simple, but it's actually not, is to just create what I call create healthy habits. If you want to know more specifically about creating a healthy habit, you can go back and listen to my podcast episode number 71. But two healthy habits specifically that I've learned to create over the years that have gone a long way towards me blossoming into that beautiful pink rose-colored orchid that you saw just a moment ago. Again, if you're listening on audio, just imagine a beautiful, beautiful pink reddish orchid flower just blooming in all its full glory in front of you. And the goal is to become like that flower, to bloom like that flower, because life is like a flower. It is like a box of chocolates, but it's also like a flower. And one of the ways I've learned over the years is this idea of creating healthy habits. And two of the habits to create in your life, very simple, basic one is just, again, same what we do with a flower. We feed it nutrient-dense type of plant food. We have to feed ourselves nutrient-dense type of people food. So healthy food, healthy eating, learning to develop these healthy eating habits, avoiding sugars. There's always going to be some exceptions. I talk about eating ice cream, of course, things like that. But as a reminder, the foods that we eat are so vitally important. The food that we eat can be medicine. The food that we can eat be poison. I would never feed the flower, the orchid, something that might poison it. And so why would we do that same here? Okay, took a quick pause. The light is back on again. If you're on video, thank you for being here. And if you're on audio, again, just you won't see the light. Just keep going with the flow. But talking about, yes, just as a reminder, the foods that we eat, it can be medicine or it can be poison. It just depends. And then the second healthy habit that we want to learn to create, if we want our lives to blossom and to feed ourselves sunshine and water and all that good stuff, it comes in the form of, I use the word movement. Some of you might use the word exercise, and that's a word for many, many reasons, and many, many years ago, I've eliminated from my vocabulary. I'll be honest, I don't exercise at all. I move every single day. Movement for me comes in the form of dance, of walking, of riding my bike, of paddle boarding. Yes, I still do some strength training with free weights and things like that. Again, a lot of you might understand the word exercise. You can get movement anytime, anywhere. I walk up and down stairs several times a day throughout the course of my day when I'm at work. I always take the stairs instead of the elevators. Some of you might remember my adventure running program. I still practice that regularly in the form of dynamic walking. I'll park, an extra 50 yards away from my office entry door and just do some high knees or, step overs or duck unders or, open the gate, close the gate type movements as I'm walking those 50 yards from my car to the door. So it's just basic movement. There's a lot more to say about creating healthy habits, but those are two of the most basic ones to learn to begin integrating and instilling in your life. The next idea I want to talk about, again, one of the things I've learned over the years, with the goal, again, the goal here is to be like that orchid. Life is like an orchid, to nourish ourselves, to feed ourselves healthy doses of sunshine and water and nutrient. And another form that comes in that I've learned over the years is this idea of shifting your mindset. Now, what I mean by that is I had the habit for the longest time of doing two things that were just huge mistakes I made, and I want you to avoid these. One, I always used my mindset to tear myself down. I would tell myself I'm not good enough, or, I'm not worth it, I'm not worthy, it doesn't matter. And this would crush my self-esteem. This would crush my self-worth. The other thing is I used to always focus and use my mind to focus on everything that wasn't working for me and everything that I didn't want in my life and everything that I didn't like in my life. And you can imagine what that did for me. That just really made me the flower that I am wilt. So if you can imagine, again, using the flower as a metaphor, you can imagine what would happen if you did this same thing to an actual orchid. If you denied it sunshine, if you denied it water, if you denied it healthy nutrients, that flower is going to wilt. Well, I was denying myself sunshine and water and healthy nutrients in the form of my mindset by always focusing on what I didn't want in life, what didn't work in my life, and by always using my mindset to tear myself down. That sounds crazy, right? But that's actually what I was doing. And so what I want to say here to you today as part of blossoming into that magnificent, wonderful, beautiful orchid that every one of you listening to this now is, do these two things. One, use your mindset to build yourself up. Start telling yourself wonderful things about you, your life, and your journey. Just start with that simple shift. Even if you don't think it's true, even if you don't believe it, just start doing that simple shift. Use your mindset to build yourself up. Become your biggest cheerleader. I like to say, become the hero of your own journey. When I made that shift, that's one of the greatest, most powerful shifts I made in my life. And that's what began feeding myself in the form of sunshine and water and healthy nutrients, is when I use my mind to build myself up. Use your mind to build yourself up. And then the second one, of course, is when I started to focus on everything that I wanted my life to be about, everything that would get me excited. So when you imagine that flower, if you plant the seed as a flower and you water it, you nourish it, again, give it sunshine, it's going to pop through the ground and start to grow, start to sprout. When you nourish yourself, you're going to start to grow. You're going to start to sprout. You're going to start to spread your wings and fly, so to speak. And the way you do that, again, using your mindset, is to focus on everything you want your life to be about. So take a moment. What do you want your life to look like? What do you want your life to be about? Write it out on paper. That's a great exercise. I redo that exercise probably at least once a month. And yes, it does evolve. It does change. What I'm focusing on now is not necessarily what I was focusing on even 6 months ago. I'm just a very much, follow the river type of a person now. Wherever I'm guided, however I'm led, whatever calls to me is how I lead my life now. But I always focus on what I want my life to be about and everything that I do want to experience in my life. And that's how you can use your mindset, very powerful, to shift your life and to begin blossoming again into that beautiful, magnificent orchid. Another thing that I've learned over the years, again, I'm giving you, this is step number 3, I guess, of 5 different steps I have here. So if you're still with me, thank you. Please stick with me. There's a lot of good stuff I'm bringing at you today. But the third thing that I've learned, and this is where a lot of people, both men and women, have challenges with, is something I call managing your weight, the getting over that weight yo-yo cycle. That yo-yo cycle of weight loss, gaining the weight, losing the weight, something like that. And so I had to finally master my weight and learn to manage my weight. And I should also back up and point out, I mentioned earlier about creating healthy habits, movement. Yes, I move every day. I have not been to a gym in probably, at least 10 years. So managing your weight, creating healthy habits, I want to point this out too. It has nothing to do with going to the gym. It has everything to do with how you live your life day in and day out. And so, yes, I do some sort of movement every day. I have some free weights at home and things like that I do strength training with. That's not the secret sauce to managing your weight, though. So I'm going to give you the 2 secret sauces very quickly that I've learned about weight management and about managing that yo-yo cycle. Again, so you don't gain the weight, lose the weight, blah, blah, blah. 2 key, there's so much more of this, though. You can certainly check out my book, Take Back Your Life. It's on my website, livehappyhealthyinspired.com. The 2 secret sauces I've learned to managing my weight over the years is one, something I call intermittent eating, which is based on the WHEN principle of eating, WHEN, W-H-E-N, when hunger ensues naturally. That's actually in Chapter 7 of Take Back Your Life, Intermittent Eating. You can go there, read all about it. I don't want to spend a lot of time here. But the second thing then I mentioned earlier about movement is not just movement, but a particular type of movement. I call it slow, easy movement. It's based on your heart rate, and the key to this is that it activates your metabolism so that we get your metabolism burning at an optimal level. If you think of your metabolism as like an engine, you want your engine functioning at its most optimal high performance type level. Well, not just movement, but slow, easy movement allows your metabolism to function at its highest, most optimal level, which then allows you to burn fuel in the form of food more efficiently. And who wouldn't want that, right? And so those are 2 key things. Again, you can read about slow, easy movement and intermittent eating in my book, chapter 7, 8, and 9. Take Back Your Life. It's on Amazon right now. I just want to throw that out there real quick. Another thing, probably one of the greatest tools, if you will, for lack of a better word, that I have learned over the years that has helped me to blossom and to grow to my full potential. This idea of finding inner peace. Nothing has helped me more on my journey than this concept of finding inner peace. And finding inner peace, I had to master 2 skill sets, 2 things I had to learn to get to the heart of finding my inner peace, so to speak. And more than anything, I say certainly creating healthy habits, managing my weight, and shifting my mindset. Those 3 things certainly have helped my flower to blossom. Again, those are three things that I do to, that in the form of sunshine, water, and nutrients that I do to feed myself, to help myself blossom into my full potential, into my happiest, healthiest, most inspired version of myself. But those three, the fourth one here, finding your inner peace, more than those three, this one, more than those three, has been the number one factor into feeding my flower that I am and allowing myself to blossom into my full potential. But to find my inner peace, I had to learn two important skills, and I want to share those here with you. The first skill was I had to learn this idea of non-attachment. Non-attachment simply means that you have a goal or something like that, but your whole world doesn't revolve around that achieving that goal or having that goal as your outcome. You learn to be content with who you are and where you are in your journey. And yes, you have this goal, but your life doesn't depend on it. If your life depends on it, then you get lost in stress and frustration and everything. And that's trying to force the journey, trying to swim upstream when it's much easier to swim downstream. Unless of course you're a spawning salmon, that's a whole different part of nature. But I had to learn this idea of non-attachment, that my life doesn't, my happiness, I should say this, my happiness, my well-being, my state of mind, my peace, all of that, it does not depend on whether I achieve this goal or not. If it does, that's called conditional attachment. That's called conditional peace. Life becomes a lot more difficult in that stage. There is an easy button to life, believe it or not. Life is meant to be easy, and it happens that way when we practice the idea of non-attachment, meaning your happiness, your well-being is not dependent on what you are doing, what you achieve, even who you are, or where you are in life. Okay, that's conditional attachment. We want non-conditional, unconditional attachment. And the second skill I had to learn to really find this idea of inner peace is this idea of simply letting go. And I'm just going to be blunt about this part. We all have shit that happens in our lives, right? We all have curveballs that get thrown our way. Some of us, come from a family member. Some of it comes from work. Some of it comes from something that happens in the day. This shit, this curveball, everything that gets thrown at us, we tend to hold on to that. And when we hold on to it, it builds up inside of us. And when we build up all of that, I'll call it energy inside of us, it's like we're literally a balloon or something waiting to explode, but that explosion comes out in the form of frustration, anger, stress. But in the meantime, until it explodes, we're holding on to all of that inside. And guess what happens to your stress, your blood pressure, your anxiety, even your thoughts of depression? This is kind of the key root of anxiety, depression, things like that, is when we hold on to things. We hold on to thoughts. We hold on to events that happen in our life. We have a thought about the event. Oh, this event was good. This event was bad. We label, we judge the event, good or bad, positive or negative, whatever you want. And then we hold on to all of that inside of us, and that builds up, and that creates stress, and that is the complete opposite of experiencing inner peace, is we experience inner distress, or what some might say an inner state of hell. And nobody wants that, and so we have to let go. We simply allow the balloon that is inside of us in the form of all that energy to deflate. Let the air out, so to speak. Let the air out of the tire. And the way you do that, it's very simple. You just have an intention to let go. You recognize, you know what, I'm stressed. What's going on inside of me here? I've got all this built up. You'll feel it. You'll feel the tension. You'll feel the stress. You'll feel the anxiety, everything. It's because you're holding on to all this shit that has happened in your life. I was holding on to shit from like 30 years ago. It's like, oh my God, I'd completely forgotten about all of this. But I realized I was holding on to it. And then when I held on to it, the light went out again. We're just no problem. We're just going to keep going here. But when I held on to all of that and I finally let it go, that's when I found my inner peace. So how did I let it go? How do you let it go, all this shit in your life? Is you simply set an intention in your mind. You know what? I'm not going to hold this pen anymore. If I'm holding this pen right here in my hand, if you're listening on audio, imagine you're holding a pen and you just drop the pen. You let it go. I caught it there too. How did you let the pen go? You had an intention in your mind. Your mind sent a signal down your nervous system all the way to your hand to let it go. Send an intention, a signal to your nervous system, to this stored up energy to just drop it, to just let it all go, to just deflate. That one step alone will do more than anything to help you grab that inner peace. So it's about non-attachment and letting go. I could talk a lot more about both of these. If you have questions about either one of these, feel free to reach out, but also I'm explaining both of these in more detail in my upcoming book, The Art of Self-Love. Now, I want to get to the last thing that has really helped me in my journey, and I want to help you in your journey to become that. Again, it's about becoming that healthiest, happiest, most inspired version of you. And that's the journey I'm on. And my journey is now to support all of you in becoming your happiest, healthiest, most inspired version of you. And the fifth thing that I want to talk about today is this idea of living mindfully. And what do I mean by living mindfully? It's about living more purposefully. And living more purposefully doesn't mean, oh, what is my purpose in life? It's not necessarily about that. But living more purposely, it will help you greatly if you have an understanding of three questions. And I had to answer all three of these questions in my life. Again, to be able to feed myself the water, the sunshine, the nutrients that a flower needs to blossom. This is what you need to blossom as the flower that you are. So by living mindfully, what do I mean? Living purposefully, some people will say that. I mean that you need an understanding of these three questions. The first question to ask yourself is, who am I? Or who are you? Now, the more in depth, the deeper you go with that question, the better you will be, the closer you get to this eternal state of inner peace. That's not an easy question to answer. That's still a question that every day I sit down and ask myself, who am I? And when you answer that question, who am I want you to ask yourself another question. Who else am I? Who else are you? And you'll see that that question keeps going on and on. Because I think that's one of the whole purposes of life, if you will, of life in general, is just to be able to answer and discover, remember who we are, who you are, and then who else are we? Who else are we? But have an understanding of that question. Who are you? Who am I? If I'm talking about myself. The second part of that, or the next question to ask yourself with regards to living a more purposeful life, with regards to living mindfully, is where are you going? Where are you going in life? Now, if I were to ask that question, I know very well where I'm going. I'm on this journey now to travel the world, if you will, and teach all things love, health, and happiness. Help everyone, everywhere, as far and wide as I can to become the healthiest, happiest, most inspired version of themselves. What that looks like, I don't know exactly where it's going to take me. I don't know, but that's where I'm going in life, to be this teacher, this lead, this guide, if you will, for others, to help them live the happiest, healthiest, most inspired version of themselves. So it's important you have an understanding of that question. Where are you going in life? And then the third question, this is a big one too. The third question, again, this is a big one, is what do I want my life to be about? Or another way I ask this sometimes is, what was I put on this planet to do? Sometimes I'll literally say, universe, why did you put me on this planet? What is it you want me to do? So I call this the to-do question or the calling question. What is the one thing that I'm meant to do? What was I put on this planet to do? So again, the first question, who am I or who are you? The second question is, where are you going or in life, or what or where am I going in life? And the third question is, what was I put on this planet to do? What is my calling in life? Now, I can answer that question from my perspective. I was put on this planet to be a teacher, a guide, a spiritual leader, if you will, and to, like I said, help others on their journey becoming the most happiest, healthiest, inspired version of themselves. Take some time with that question. What were you put on this planet to do? And when you have an answer to those three questions, a very deep answer to those questions, you get clarity on those questions, as some people might say, you are going to be feeding yourself tons and tons of sunshine, of water, and nourishment. And so then at the end of the day, these 5 steps ultimately lead to you nourishing yourself in the form of sunshine, water, healthy plant nutrients, lots of happy, healthy psychology that you're feeding yourself. These 5 things, again, the 5 things, just to review as I start to wrap this up: create those healthy habits, shift your mindset, manage your weight, get off the yo-yo weight cycle, find your inner peace, and live a more purposeful life. Live mindfully, as I say, or live a more purposeful life. Those are the lessons that I've learned over the past, gosh, almost 16 years now. I think I'm in my 16th year now of this journey, of how I am becoming the happiest, healthiest, most inspired version of myself. And I hope you have enjoyed this today. If you like what you have heard today, if you could do me a solid and please share this episode as far and wide, I would really, really appreciate that. If you're listening on YouTube, I would love a comment from you. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify, I would love if you would subscribe. The more people I can reach with this message, the more. And then finally, at the end, if you do want to become the happiest, healthiest, most inspired version of yourself, visit my website at happyhealthyinspired.com. Until next time, everyone, this is Brad, again, with Happy, Healthy, and Inspired.